In order to escape the downfall of his kingdom, the Pale King moved his entire palace into the Dream Realm, anchored to the physical world through the mind of a king's mold at the former entrance to the palace. Clearly, the interior of the palace has been modified by the Pale King, as it likely did not originally include so many buzzsaws and other traps. This quality reminded me of a memory technique I've heard of before that included using something known as the Mind Palace. Could this have inspired Team Cherry to put the White Palace in the Dream Realm? How the Mind Palace or Memory Palace works is that someone trying to memorize something will imagine a place they are familiar with, such as their neighborhood. Then, they will imagine individual things within that larger place that they remember, such as a neighbor's house, traffic light, or bus stop. Finally, they will connect individual parts of what they're trying to remember with these landmarks. For example, if a person is trying to memorize 12 items on a list, they would imagine 12 landmarks in the place they're familiar with and connect each one with an item from the list in corresponding order. That way, in order to recite the list items correctly, they would mentally navigate the space and come across each landmark, therefore each list item in their memory. As for the White Palace, a good example of connecting a certain memory to a certain space within the larger one is the Path of Pain. The event that this is a memory of took place within the White Palace, so having the White Palace in the Dream Realm with the ability to manipulate it, this memory would ultimately have to be included somewhere. Obviously, this is something that the Pale King heavily regrets, so he keeps it hidden behind a gauntlet of the most intense platforming challenges not only in the palace itself, but the entire game. It makes sense that the Pale King would manifest these dangers to hide a particular regretful memory, but why set up traps throughout the entire palace? I think there's a possibility that the Pale King had the idea that the palace might be invaded, even in the Dream Realm. A piece of evidence is the lore tablet at the beginning of the Path of Pain, which reads, "To witness secrets sealed, one must endure the harshest punishment." The wording really makes it seem like the Pale King is not talking about himself. He doesn't want himself to be reminded of the actions he regretted, but he doesn't want anyone else to see them either. He would have no reason to create so many traps inside the palace if there was no danger of anyone trying to find him or one of his memories within it. When we actually do find the Pale King himself, he is dead on his throne. This would mean that he manifested the traps while he was still alive, but they remained even when he was dead and no longer mentally aware to modify the palace once again. Interestingly, the memory at the end of the Path of Pain shows him alive. This is not the king himself, however, as evidenced by the fact that this vision of him fades away once the knight watches the memory take place. This really goes to show just how desperate the king was to guard both the palace and this memory, as the traps he created remained in place even after his death. It also shows how powerful the memory was, as well as his regret for it, because it too remained in place after his death. So what do you think? Could Team Cherry have used an existing concept like the Mind Palace technique in their development of the White Palace? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for when I upload. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.